row first tomorrow?
We do. We're going to start Clayton Beater tomorrow. That's probably a surprise to you. We're going to start Austin Becker, game 1 on Saturday. We're going to start Bonin, game 2 on Saturday, so that'd be game 3 of the series, and Mason Montgomery. And most of you are going to say, where's Micah? Micah's going to come out of the bullpen this weekend. Just felt like it's the right thing to do for all of us.
Is that going to be a permanent, or an idea at this point, a permanent situation for him, or is it a first week of the season, we know we can get out of him later?
Really, it's just where he is right now, where those other guys are right now, today. Those guys got a chance to really be special, as he does too. And it's really just first weekend's kind of where we feel like we are.
With Clayton kind of getting that first start, is this a chance for him to kind of extend himself? I know last year he was kind of limited a little bit because of the.
Just really feel like we put ourselves in a position. You know, he had a year here where he redshirted and had Tommy John, and then we had a year last year where we really were very conservative with trying to get his body and his arm in this position. And with that kind of stuff, I mean, and makeup and composure and all that, there's no reason not to run him out there as a starter at this point.
I guess in terms of him, I guess are you looking at him as a 3-inning guy, or kind of going as long as you can, or I guess what's that?
No, I really feel like those first 3 guys are guys that could start your first game of the weekend, any weekend for anybody. Now, I'm not saying they're there right now. We're not saying they're there right now, but there's definitely an opportunity for those guys to develop and really put us in a position, you know, to just be able to really throw the ball really well.
Does Dallas have anything physical that's a reason for him not?
He wasn't on the mound last weekend, and so that's really where you get this from. I mean, so his pitch count's not built up to where the other guy's pitch count's built up to.
How about with John? Is he just going to be strictly out of the pen, or is this something that's...
John's really been really good with everything. He really wants an opportunity to pitch whenever his time comes. By no means are we ever closing the door of giving the ball to John as a starter. And if you'd have said at the end of the fall who could start for this team, he'd have been one of the guys, because he's throwing the ball really well. Generally for John, it takes a little more time to find rhythm and timing, and that's not such a bad thing. I think a guy named Nolan Ryan had the same thing with a big arm like that. So really right now, the more times you can get him on the mound, the sooner he finds rhythm and timing.
Coach, how excited are you and the guys to finally get this season started 24 hours from right now?
Really excited. I mean, we're looking forward to watching them. Staff's really excited about watching these guys. I know the players are excited about playing another opponent. I know they're excited about the challenge of the game and how hard the game of baseball is to go play mentally for 9 innings each day, and I think they're ready to go try to tackle that.
It's just in terms of some of your infield, I guess, have you kind of figured that out yet, or is this going to be a deal where you kind of throw a bunch of guys out and just kind of figure it out?
There's going to be some competition. First base, you got Cole Stillwell and T.J. Rumfield. Second base, you got Klein and Conley, if you want to slide Conley over there. At shortstop, Conley and Jace Young can both play there. And at third base, you got Noisy and Young and Parker Kelly. And so there's a number of guys that can compete for those spots. You know, we obviously would like the opportunity for 35 guys to show up at the ballpark every day and to be ready to make an impact. Reality of it is, you know, it's not so much, you know, how much tools you have, it's what you do with those tools. And so there's competition. I mean, you could even throw Ron back over there at first base if you wanted to. And so I feel like the competition could be good, you know, within the roster. And, you know, I think there's another guy, Baker. Baker played some first coming off. He had a little scope done on his knee 3 weeks ago, and so he's really just getting back in the flow of things, swinging the bat, and he stood over there first last weekend. So some healthy competition.
So what's your outfield look like, personnel-wise?
Yeah, there's a number of guys there too. Start with Noisy in center. Start with Max Marzak in right. In left, you got Dylan Carter, Tanner O'Trimba, Drew Baker, Cody Masters can play left or right. Made a nice play in center. He made a play in center last week that if he could make it every day, he could play center for anybody. It's just he doesn't always do that. Probably leaving somebody out of that equation, but all those guys, it's going to be plenty competitive.
We asked you a couple weeks ago about replacing Gabe at the top of the lineup. Is there a guy or a couple of guys after a couple of weekends of scrimmages that you feel confident that can lead off for you guys?
I think what we'll have is we'll have a guy hit first and ninth, and you could flip those guys at either time, at any time, maybe even first and second, and really whoever evolves into being the tougher out in those spots probably evolves into being the guy that gets on base at the top of the order and kind of can cause some problems. But I think we have the opportunity to do that in both those spots, which is something we really hadn't had. So you might talk about collectively doing it once the lineup turns over a couple times in a row, if that makes sense, in the 9 and the 1. I don't think there's a guy in college baseball that's going to make contact the way Gabe Hope did. Against elite pitching, against great pitching, there's just not many guys you're going to say, hey, go face these guys, and in 2 years you're only going to swing and miss 6% of the time. It's just not going to happen.
What do you expect from Becker kids?
Expectations. There's the cool word, right? He prepares awful good. I think he's going to embrace each moment. I think he understands how to go out and compete pitch to pitch. As far as expectations go, I'd say that'd be putting limits on him, and I won't put any limits on him.
What's his stuff like? What does he work with?
He's, there's a guy in here working a regional or super in a regional last year. That was a bird dog, you could say. I can't remember for which team. This is a college baseball coach who's in scouting now, just really to have something to do, to go watch games, and been in the state of Ohio for his career. He said that's the best arm he's ever seen in the state of Ohio. So, been some pretty good ones. And so, I think he's been up to 98 with an 88-mile-an-hour wipeout breaking ball with a good changeup. So, it's got a chance to be special. I'm not saying it's going to be 98 all the time. He's going to pitch 90 to 95, I would say. If it's more than that, we'll take it.
Coach, last year, kind of coming into it, you had a speedy team that could make contact. I guess what did you kind of see from the lineup this year that you're kind of expecting would be another contact team?
Yeah, I mean, that's you had those guys in the middle, and Josh and Cam, obviously, they got hot down the stretch and swung the bat really good and did some damage on some pitches in the middle of the plate. And I think really with this team, you got plenty guys that have some that have the ability to have tough at bats. And I don't know that you're going to really replace the home runs. I don't know that you're not either. I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 guys can go hit the ball out of the ballpark, or maybe 1 through 9 if you want to say that. At the same time, we've never been an offense that's going to rely on that. Want to hang our hat on having good at bats and let whatever evolves as far as running the bases, whatever the game presents that day, let that evolve that day.
You got some competition coming in this weekend. What do you expect to see from them?
Yeah, Houston Baptist. Coach Moon's been there a long time. Russell Stockton's a guy that's been around Houston for a long time. You guys that have been around, his dad's Bragg Stockton, and those guys do a good job. They're gonna, their first guy's a guy that was really tough last year on some teams. He's a guy that's gonna mix. They're gonna start a left-hander game 2. They return 8 hitters in a lineup, so that's a challenge in itself. You talk about Northern Colorado. And just really just talking about two teams is a different challenge, just preparing for them. And so you're looking at Houston Baptist and Northern Colorado in the same weekend, where in the past it's maybe been 4 games in a weekend against the same team, and you're matching up against their bullpen in game 3, their bullpen arms in game 3. As this weekend goes, you're going to get Northern Colorado in their second game.